Russia tomorrow.
Здравствуйте, мэтр Дауд, спасибо, что вы с нами.
Hello, Mr. Daoud. Thank you for joining us. The International Criminal Court has issued a warrant for the arrest of Vladimir Putin and Russian Commissioner for Children's Rights Maria Lvova-Belova for the issue of the deportation of Ukrainian children to Russia. Together with the French organization Pour l'Ukraine, pour leur liberté et la nôtre, you filed a claim to investigate the issue at the ICC in December last year. Would you say that this is a response to this request? What is your reaction?
Écoutez, je pense que les autorités ukrainiennes avaient également d'ores et déjà saisi.
Listen, I think that the Ukrainian authorities had appealed to the International Criminal Court a long time ago, and to the prosecutor in particular. But I want to say that what we did in France had a very strong influence on public opinion, not only in our country but across the world. After this appeal, we were contacted by our parliament and the Human Rights Commission of the European Parliament, where we were able to communicate again that this deportation does not only constitute war crimes, but crimes against humanity and genocide. And I personally called on European parliamentarians to reach out to the International Criminal Court to request the immediate issuing of arrest warrants for Mr. Putin and Mrs. Belova. But not just them. There are also at least two others implicated, the Minister of Defense and Chief of the Military Staff, as well as other involved personnel. It's important to talk about the forced deportation of Ukrainian children right now, and it is important that they feel frightened. We have to fight against their impunity, and if we want to try to stop this large-scale planned deportation policy, we have to send them a powerful signal. And this message was clear, and was a step to fight against their impunity, as I just said. We must state it as clearly as possible. The International Criminal Court must recognize Mr. Putin as a war criminal.
Mr. Daoud, what do you think served as the grounds for a warrant from a legal point of view? Is it the deportation itself, or the subsequent, as they call it, denazification and Russification, and then the naturalization that comes after?
He is being accused primarily of the deportation and legal movement of children, that is, taking children out of Ukraine. They were taken away from orphanages, schools, and hospitals. They are also being accused of organizing the deliberate removal of children from the occupied territories. Finally, they are being accused of separating children from their parents, forcibly sending children to these fraudulent camps. This is what the Russian authorities are being accused of, the illegal transportation of children onto the territory of Russia. But you are right to point out that as a result of this deportation policy, a forced Russification of these children has also been enacted. The so-called naturalization procedure was a significant shortcut that took place in literally 24 hours, changing their civil status to give them full new Russian status. This means a new name, a new last name, a different age and place of birth. All of this will of course help classify it as a much more serious war crime than just the illegal movement of children, and allows us to call what is happening a crime against humanity and genocide, as they are severing all emotional, historical, biological links between the children and their past lives.
Of course, it's already astonishing that the arrest order was issued for Vladimir Putin specifically. It's not often that something like this happens, right? On what basis do you think the order was issued for Vladimir Putin specifically? You based your report for the International Criminal Court based on open sources, including media reports. There are several videos of Maria Belova talking to Putin, and in one of these videos, Putin says that he's willing to change the law to achieve their goals. Let's take a look.
У нас приехало 1090 детей-сирот из разных детских учреждений. И вот как вы считаете, у нас наши российские граждане, они, конечно, с большим сердцем и, в общем, уже выстроились в очередь брать детей. И вот, если вы позволите, я бы продолжила эту работу. Мы сейчас сформировали реестр уже из тех, у кого есть документы, и кого-то, может быть, на временное размещение, кого-то с российским гражданством можно было бы уже устраивать.
Да почему только с российским? С любым гражданством.
Там просто есть законодательные проволочки, которые необходимо будет тогда устранить.
Скажите, какие? Будем их устранить. Это чрезвычайные обстоятельства. И мне кажется, нужно думать не о бюрократических проволочках, а об интересах детей. Вы сделайте предложение, мы внесем изменения в законодательство. Обратимся в Государственную Думу, я уверен, депутаты вас поддержат.
Думаете, что конкретно этот факт?
Do you think this evidence could be the reason for the initiation of the case?
Les preuves, elles ont été apportées par les Russes eux-mêmes et en particulier par M. Poutine et toute sa haute administration. Pourquoi?
You could say that the evidence was provided by the authorities themselves, both by Putin and his entire administration. Why? Because this policy was based on their decisions. It was planned, carefully organized, and publicized to the extent that these shipments of children were being filmed by Russian television. The Ministry of Defense has posted all of this footage on the official website of the Kremlin. State television channels showed, for example, Russian families taking in and welcoming these children in the presence of high-ranking regional officials. It was happening in front of everyone, so we aren't talking about a deep investigation looking for clues. We're talking about physical evidence we can see. And you mentioned the presidential order, which of course indicates that Putin took this matter into his own hands. Maria Lvova-Belova shamelessly, in front of the Russian TV cameras, says that Vladimir Putin is her boss, and it is him who gives her direct instructions on how to organize this process. So the evidence is right there, including the evidence of Putin's personal involvement in this process. This is evidence of the purposeful implementation of this policy, with the cooperation of every division of the authorities, starting with the involvement of the army, which has been established. So based on these easily available sources and evidence provided by Mr. Putin himself, I hope that someday he is going to be put on trial.
Это действительно пожизненный ордер.
Is it really a lifelong arrest warrant, as Karim Khan, prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, stated? Or can they somehow retract it? Maria Lvova-Belova has already said that if the legal guardians or parents of the children are found, then they will be returned to Ukraine, and that 15 children have already been returned to Ukrainian families in this way. Do you think they'll be able to reverse the order?
Alors, le crime a déjà été commis.
The crime has already been committed. When we talk about the most serious criminal offenses, there is no statute of limitations, so they will not be able to avoid prosecution, even if they suddenly stop what they're doing. It doesn't work like that. So this arrest warrant is really permanent, and they will have to face justice for their crimes at some point. And what are these 15 children, when we're talking about approximately 16,000 known cases? There's probably far more children, with higher figures circulating, and some claiming that there are as many as 200,000 abducted children. Even if they are returned to Ukraine, it will never undo the harm done to these children and their families. I'm talking about moral injuries, particularly emotional trauma. We also cannot forget about the children that we risk never being able to track down.
At the same time, prosecutor Karim Khan said in an interview with CNN that he tried to contact Russian representatives regarding the issue, but was never able to get any response whatsoever. Do you think it's worth waiting for a response from them at all?
Alors, il est bien évident que Monsieur Putin.
Of course, it is clear that Putin, while he remains the head of the Russian state, is unlikely to be extradited by the Russian authorities. This is a fact. You can also assume that Russia's allies, like China or other countries sending weapons to Russia, or Iran, will never give him up, even if Putin pays their country a diplomatic visit. On the other hand, no one is completely sure that Putin will remain head of state in 1, 2, or 3 years' time. These crimes do not have a statute of limitations, and therefore can be the subject of legal proceedings in 5, 10, or 15 years. Who would have thought back then that Slobodan Milosevic would be handed over by the Serbian authorities themselves, just 2 years after the end of conflict in the former Yugoslavia? That's exactly what happened there. The Serbs themselves handed him over to the International Criminal Court. So it's possible that something like that might happen again. Well, we'll see. Right now, this is just speculation. But in any case, today it is clear that Putin is already an outcast. He finds himself in the same situation as a drug dealer or pedophile that has had an international warrant arrest issued for him. He'll be tracked in the same way, and one day he will be arrested. He's a war criminal, and he must be prosecuted.
Итак, последний вопрос. Ордер на арест.
One final question. The order for Putin's arrest has been issued. So what's next? What are the next steps? And do you think Vladimir Putin will ever really be convicted?
Moi, je suis avocat, donc je crois à la force du droit.
I'm a lawyer, so I believe in the power of the law. A few months ago, I said that I think that one beautiful day in the future, an international arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin will be issued by the International Criminal Court. I was called a naive dreamer and a madman. Now we see that it really did happen. This isn't me trying to gloat, but I want to say that for the most serious crimes, international criminal justice fortunately really does work. And it is happening against the incumbent head of state of a permanent member of the Security Council.
Le chef d'État en exercice.
This arrest warrant is also an incredibly strong signal, not just to Mr. Putin, but to all who conduct themselves like despots, dictators, and autocrats, and commit crimes in their own country or in other countries. These people have always existed and will continue to exist in the future. So I don't know if Putin will be tried in 2024, 2025, or 2028, but I know that from my point of view, it will most likely happen.
But what specific steps can be taken right now?
d'un mandat d'arrêt si M. Poutine
If Mr. Putin suddenly goes to a country that has ratified the Rome Statute, then that state must be directly requested to extradite him. If that state is aware of this, then it is obliged to arrest Putin and hand him over to the authorities. So for now, we must simply remain in a state of anticipation and wait for the execution of this arrest warrant. But we cannot wait to document other crimes committed by Russia by the order of Mr. Vladimir Putin. We're doing this in parallel, so the list of atrocities, bombings, mass graves, executions, and all other deliberate actions is growing increasingly long. It is the expression of a desire to terrorize the Ukrainian people. And here, once again, the direct responsibility rests on the shoulders of Mr. Putin, as well as the defense minister, military chiefs of staff, and other officials controlling military operations in Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daoud.
TV Rain has started broadcasting in English so that you could get news about Russia, the war in Ukraine, and Russian society directly from the source.
Russia's military is unable to stop Ukrainian forces.
The Kremlin's newest propaganda target is now the LGBT community.
TV Rain channel has been shut down in Russia many times. The last one happened at the beginning of March, when the war started.
Мы временно приостанавливаем работу телеканала.
We survived, started working from Europe, and now we are watched by millions of people every day, for whom we are the only TV station that tells the truth about the war. Subscribe to our English channel TV Rain Newsroom on YouTube.